Chinese data center market is on its way to becoming one of the biggest sectors in the world. Joining me is Oliver Jones, CEO of Chayora, to discuss this further. Thank you for having me today and welcome to Monaco.
Morning, Abigail. Nice to see you.
In terms of building out portfolios, where are you currently seeing a demand?
Well, as you know, we are focused entirely on the Chinese mainland in the delivering of our data center products, and we're committed to developing a series of hyperscale campuses in the main cities on the eastern coasts of China. The east coast of China is where the largest amount of GDP is and the richest populations in China. So our first and biggest campus at the moment is just outside Beijing, in the north of the country, about 100 kilometers outside, where we're developing an 80-acre site, which will be one of the biggest facilities currently being developed for international users in China.
And how much space are you currently developing?
Well, the site will accommodate 9 large data center buildings, 6 very big ones, which will be around 3,000 to 4,000 racks each, and then 3 smaller high-performance computing units that are particularly developed for artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is a major feature up in Tianjin. So altogether, the site will be 25,000 racks. It will be around 300 megawatts of gross power. And in square footage terms, it's about 2.3 million square feet.
So tell us about your target audience.
We're not a co-location company, but we are there to enable international businesses to access the digital economy in China, to access the market. You can't access the huge population, 800 million people are online in China today, but you can't sell to them from outside the country because of the national firewall. So we're targeting 3 main groups. Firstly, international hyperscale cloud from Europe, Australasia, and particularly from the United States. Secondly, domestic hyperscalers, the likes of Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, where we can add particular value given the scale of our sites. And then thirdly, quite interestingly, international co-location companies who want to be in the Chinese market, who can't get the telecoms licenses and the like that we have, and those are the 3 groups that we're targeting.
And tell us one thing about Chayora that your viewers may not really know.
Well, probably the size that we're developing. I mentioned 2.3 million square feet in Tianjin. If we develop out that site in full, that would place our campus as one of the top 5 campuses in the world. We're looking to do at least 3 other similar scale campuses, 2 in the Shanghai area. We'll have the first of those underway at the end of this year, and then a further one down in the south of China. So the scale that we're developing at, people can't quite relate to, and that's really because we're all still learning about quite how big a potential market China is.
And how do you feel about the US-China trade war?
Well, needless to say, we're very hopeful that that's something that will be resolved positively very soon. It was very close to being reconciled in May of this year, and most of the commentators and observers were very clear that there was a great deal to be done on that front, but there's still clearly work to do. And the escalation at the moment, I think we're hoping that this is just a final storm before the calm, if you like, where positions are being played out, and Mr. Trump and Mr. Xi will hopefully have some positive conversations when they meet at the G20 in Japan at the end of June. We're optimistic because we think that the US and China are very important interdependent trading partners. They need to move to a new chapter, and when they move to that new chapter, I think that's going to be very good for the world economy. It's going to be very exciting for the data center industry, and it'll be very good news for us when that does square itself away.
And what do you feel like the future for the data center sector is in the next 10 years? Where do you see it heading?
Well, I think, as many people here have been talking about, we've just reached the end of the beginning, as was once quoted, I think, by Winston Churchill. The really exciting thing is that we're about to launch into 5G, see the Internet of Things, see artificial intelligence and machine learning. And as an example, if you take the amount of data that's being produced today in the world, as soon as we move to driverless cars, Around 4 terabytes of data are generated each hour by driverless cars. So when you have hundreds of millions of such cars, and these will happen first in China, with all of the data being captured, all of the data being analyzed, I think we'll look back on where we are in 2019 and see it as actually just the foothills when we're then right up in the high Himalayas, for example.
That's a good outlook. And what are some of the challenges you are currently facing as a company, and how are you overcoming them?
Biggest challenge for us is I've been going to China for 30 years, and I go in and out of China around 40 or 50 times a year now, so I'm a very frequent visitor. The biggest challenge is there's an awful lot to learn. After 30 years of going to China, I'm scratching the surface about understanding it, but I know a lot more than a lot of others who have never been there, of course, and those who visit far less frequently. The biggest challenge is dealing with China in a way that works in China, and that means that we can't go in there with strident, maybe West European or North American attitudes and just expect people to bend around the way we do business and our customers do business. So we look to act as a bridge between what the international community wants and what the Chinese government and the Chinese commercial sector is prepared to provide. And bridging that is a really delicate thing to do. Of course, everybody's in this to create good value, create good returns to their shareholders, and have good deals, and that's not different from anywhere else. So the challenge is helping people understand the cultural divide and get used to it, because we've all got to get used to working well and working effectively in China.
And how important is this data cloud conference to your company?
Well, this is one of the most important data center related events on the global circuit each year. We make it our business to come here. I'm very impressed this year with the amount of Asian interest and particularly Chinese interest. We're actively involved in the China Forum that's taking place this morning with 2 or 3 other major players like ourselves in China. And I like the way that Data Cloud has moved to becoming a global event rather than just a European event. So it's very important to us, and we'll be continuing to come here in years to come.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Abigail, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Don't forget, you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram, and visit our website on www.data-economy.com.